than the Black Blade, a serialized adventure podcast by Andrew Israelsen. The three began the slow and long descent into the dark. Even with the aid of torchlight, the group was forced to go rather slowly, as cracks and crevices pitted the slick floor. One could easily turn an ankle, or worse. The air was cold and growing more damp. The air in their nostrils was of ancient stone, patient water, and a faint hint of organic rot. After about an hour of careful descent, the main passage branched into three diverging paths. The first was a hard right turn into another wide tunnel. The second was a narrower, but still traversable fissure continuing in the same direction, and the third a downward-sloping tunnel on their left. At Nima's insistence, the others fell silent, so that they could listen at the mouth of each path, but they heard nothing.
Perhaps we ought to split up and each take a tunnel, venture in a ways, and then meet back and report any findings.
Breaking the line is how people get themselves killed. I say we stick together and begin with the leftmost tunnel.
Nima nodded. They entered the left-hand tunnel. For several hundred yards it was more of the same, cold stone on all sides, with only the steady drip of water from the hanging stalactites to break the monotony. After about 15 minutes of this, Nima became aware of a set of entirely different sounds ahead. Soon Tadalac and Bruckner could hear them too. A wide, melancholic melody played, as plaintive and lovely as a gravestone, and infringing upon those sonorous notes here and there invaded a wild, inane gibbering. The party came to a fork. The song was emerging from the left-hand passage and the wild voice from the right.
Left-hand passage, but we need to proceed cautiously. Nothing singing in the bowels of the earth is holy or fine.
They pressed forward with great care, noticing after a few moments a cold blue light suffusing through the tunnel. The song, and oh, what dark dirge or mournful requiem it was, grew louder with each step, though the singer sang but softly. Then they saw him, alone in a small terminal cavern. He sat against the far wall, a tiny figure propped against the sack, a luminous blue sphere hanging in the air a few feet above him, giving off the eerie light they had followed. He fell silent and watched them. He was old and wizened and not human. The hair of his beard sprouted thick like tree roots, winnowing down to narrow tendrils. His eyes were like pumice stones. They glimmered and crackled as he shifted his gaze, and they steamed in the cold.
Tadalac, what is this man?
'Tis an Urnome, an ancient cousin to my kind. I don't know what he's doing here, though.
The creature called out in a feeble voice, wavering much like the eerie blue light flickering against the cavern walls.
Have you come to kill me, too? Have done with it, then.
He bowed his head and began what sounded like a soft prayer. Bruckner called out,
Stop your muttering and tell us who you are and how you came to be here.
The creature looked up with milky eyes and focused on Bruckner's face.
How I came to be here. My kin and I have lived under these mountains for 100 generations. In the past year, almost all of us have been killed or driven away.
He rocked back and forth slightly, shuddering.
But no doubt you already know this. There are none here but the devils and those who summon them. Doubtless you are among them, come to finish the job.
Tadalac cast a severe eye on Bruckner.
Quiet, Ox. This old fellow has suffered a great deal, can't you tell? You let me and Nima speak with him. Come on, little sister. He needs friends right now.
He looked to Nima and held out a hand. Nima waited, studying the hunched figure. After a moment's consideration, she took Tadalac's hand and they approached.
I don't really make a very good friend.
She muttered, but followed along all the same, glancing back surreptitiously and a bit sheepishly at Bruckner. Tadalac sat down next to the ancient creature.
Hello, old fellow,
he said in a very kind and soft voice.
Won't you tell us what happened here? We're here on the orders of General Alexander, the bravest and best man in these parts, to hunt down and stop the demons from their wicked doings. We will help you to get out.
The old gnome looked at Tadalac and smiled a wan smile.
Hello, young one,
he said.
It warms this old heart to see a happy young gnome like yourself. There's been too little heartwarming for me of late, I'm afraid. We have lived here a very long time in the Undermountain. Times are always changing, of course. normally the changes of the sort to be expected. But then they started coming up. The devils. Horrible, terrifying beings, wrapped in spiked chains, leading firehounds, and riding stallions of flame and shadow. They started to kill my folk, and the dark humans who summoned them have been no better. They are taking over all of the underplaces in this region, and if my ears haven't lied as I've heard them speaking their horrible tongue, they plan to invade your service world as well. I was away when the attack on my village came, peddling wares to some distant corners in Illyrium or Isenfess, or some other less savory place I might have met along the pitch roads as they run south of here. But I had heard the rumors of trouble with devils prior to this, of course, but there are always rumors down here, and I never imagined.
He stifled a small sob. Tadalac patted him on the hand.
If you would help me to leave this terrible place, I would be most grateful. I have nothing left here but painful memories. I have wares to sell.
He looked up hopefully.
If that would aid you, brave travelers. I returned from my journey with much left unsold.
He gestured to several bags sitting beside him.
I have remained undetected thanks to my illusion magic for several months, but
His chin dropped onto his chest.
I'm so tired now, and saw no reason to continue on, so I let the illusions drop. I'm grateful, though, that you found me and not those monsters.
What is that blue sphere hanging above you?
Bruckner asked the gnome.
Oh, that? Just a little enchanted lantern. I make and sell them. Or I did. I think I have a few left if you're interested.
He said very sadly.
It looks useful. How much do you want for it?
The ghost of a smile appeared on his face, and he looked gratefully at Bruckner.
Oh, well, I suppose that a price reduction is called for. Circumstances and all. 100 gold pieces?
He said, more as a question than a statement. Bruckner looked at Tadalac with an expression of puzzlement and disgust. Nima dropped Tadalac's hand and moved to intervene.
Look, we've some business that you can help us with by sharing both supplies and information. In return for your assistance, we would be willing to promise to aid your escape when we are finished with our business. That should be worth anything we need, don't you think?
She said to the deep gnome. She paused, looking at Tadalac.
And anything we don't strictly need, we will pay you a fair price for.
Tadalac said, I'll buy one, and pulled out 100 gold coins from his coin purse. The gnome smiled and said,
I will gladly aid you in any way I can. I will tell you what I know and gladly offer you supplies. I have some potions and weapons and other sundries that might aid you. Feel free to have a look.
I might buy one. What else do you have for sale?
I have healing potions, which you may take for free, given the danger of your quest and your assured bravery in facing it. I also have some enchanted items that may be of aid to you.
The wizened gnome seemed to be perking up a bit.
If you brave souls will really take me out of here, I will be most grateful. And I will give you gifts, aside from the potions, to aid you.
He stood slowly and walked toward Bruckner, saying,
You are obviously a warrior of great strength. I hope you will use this. My son, lord in battle, he was a mighty warrior too.
He handed the youth a small, pale purple stone that pulsed with magical energy. It was little larger than a marble. Bruckner hesitated a moment, then accepted it. As it touched his skin, the stone seemed to dissolve in a flurry of light, and Bruckner turned his arm to find the stone set within the bracer he wore over his shield arm, as if placed there by a master jeweler. His shield felt slightly lighter in his hand. The gnome winked at Bruckner's astonished expression. The ancient creature turned to Nima and said,
You look as though you are keen and able with that crossbow of yours. Here, I think this one will be even more to your liking.
From a bag, he pulled a light crossbow carved with Emmanuelite glyphs and handed it gingerly to her. It was meticulously crafted of a deep red wood.
It infuses all bolts with arcane energies, dealing more damage than any sliver of wood ever could.
To Tadalac, he said,
And to you, my kind young friend, I offer you 3 of my scrolls of your choosing. I discern that you are a powerful wizard, and perhaps some additional magics will aid you.
Tadalac clapped his hands together and began rummaging through the scrolls like an excited child.
Thank you for this.
Bruckner said, quite moved by the gesture.
I hope to bear it well.
Nima was studying the mechanism of her new crossbow with satisfaction.
Anything else you wish to purchase? It seems unlikely we'll happen upon another merchant down here. Do you need more gold?
She smiled.
Thank you, but no. I'm fine.
She selected from among the mage's wares an ensorcelled amulet that helped the shadows more closely cling to the wearer.
I believe I will take that amulet. It will clean me out, but I think it might become useful.
The elderly gnome carried out the transaction, his demeanor growing less sorrowful as he took comfort in the presence of the youths.
You are venturing into the lair of the beasts?
He asked.
You must be warned that there are devils awaiting you. I know not how many or of what exact variety, but I have told you of the sorts I have seen. There's a fat, well-dressed human lord as well, traveling in the company of a devilish woman, two harsh-looking figures cloaked in crimson robes. Methinks I heard another scampering down this way several hours ago as well, but I cannot be sure. I beg of you all to use the utmost caution.
Tadalac looked up, having selected 3 scrolls, and said, Thanks, old fellow. We are brave and strong. Nothing can stop us. He paused as though considering what he'd just said, then nodded affirmatively. He looked to his companions. Shall we press on?
Yes. We should go back to the fork and take the right-hand passage toward that wailing sound.